Today we're going to talk about 2 ways to practice drawing your face in proportion. Now every teacher has a different way to do this, so even if you've done portraits before, I want you to try it my way. I think it's foolproof. So I'll put that step-by-step paper in your portfolio too so you can see the steps. So you can practice in your sketchbook. This week is just a practice one. The first step is drawing an oval. And very, very lightly, you're going to erase a lot of this in a little bit. The second step, you can see I've drawn a vertical and horizontal line. I'm not using a ruler, it's just a guideline for me. And then you're going to draw your eyes, and your eyes are on the horizontal line, which I know right now you're thinking, what? There's way too much space on the top of my eyeballs. It will work out, I promise. Look in the mirror because you're drawing yourself, so you want to look really carefully at eyelids, the pupil, any areas around the outside that you can darken in a little bit. And again, right now you can see I'm just super softly making some marks. There's not a lot of shading, not a lot of heavy detail yet. This is just a practice one. Eyelashes. On the right side, they start from the eyelid and they go to the right. But on the left, you're doing the opposite. Okay? So here are 2 things that students often do incorrectly when they're trying to practice a realistic portrait is they'll make almost a cartoon eye, like this big ball with your pupil inside. Your eyelid is usually partially closed. The second thing they'll often do is have eyelashes coming out of the eyeball, which would hurt. Make sure they're coming from the eyelid. Okay. So when you're looking at the eye, check that you have everything you need. Now I'm moving to the eyebrow. And the eyebrow generally is a little bit further over than your eyeball on both sides. Again, everyone's eyebrows are different, so the shape, but really the placement is pretty much the same. So take a look. How are the hairs growing? If they're growing up straight up, you draw them straight up. If they're slanted, you make your marks slanted. If they're short and fat, draw them short and fat. If they're long and skinny, whatever you see. The nose. Here's a part I really don't want you to skip. I want you to look carefully in the mirror, and you can almost draw a line from your eyebrow to the tip of your nose. And that will help guide you of how far down your nose should go. So here is another mistake people often make. They'll make this triangle nose, or they'll make it so far away from their mouth there's this huge gap. The nose is probably going to go a little further than you think. You can draw with 1 line on a side or 2 lines. It's up to you. There's about a finger space between the nose and the lips, generally speaking. And everyone's top lip starts with kind of an M shape in the middle. And again, everyone's lips are different. Yours might be long and skinny. They might have a fatter one on top or a fatter one on the bottom. You need to look. I'm just sort of giving you guidelines of where things might go. Now, this step is crucial. We're going to take that oval and we're going to squeeze it in. That was just meant to help us generally figure out where things were going to go. But if you look at your face, it's probably much thinner than an oval. And there is a triangle pointy bit where your chin goes. So once you've narrowed the oval, go ahead and erase any parts, like the outside of the oval, your crisscross lines, I call those cheat lines, and now you have a base. Okay, don't get excited and go to the hair just quite yet. Now I want you to go to the ears. The ears generally are next to the eye. Ears are so funny to draw, oh my goodness. And you're looking at them straight ahead, so they're not going to be coming out completely flat. They're going to be tapered back, and there's so many little details in there. Go ahead and draw them. Even if your hair is long, for now, we can cover later. Now we can go to the neck, and I'm going to show you the last very, very common mistake that people often make when they get to the shoulders. They will shrink them. They'll bring them in super tiny, and it's impossible to have a giant head on a body like that. Your shoulders will always be out further than your head. So you might fall off the paper, and that is absolutely okay. Now the fun part. What do we do with this big space left up here? Again, look in the mirror and find your hairline, because half of this space is going to be your hair. So if your hair happens to be parted in the middle, that's an easy one. You start from the middle and you're going to draw to the tops of the ears. To make the hair look realistic, you want to literally draw how your hair is growing. If it's falling in a straight line, then you're going to draw multiple lines. And you're like, oh, this is going to take forever. Yep, it will, and that's okay because it looks really good. This will really help it make it look like you, okay? What if we have short hair? What happens then? So I'm going to erase this one side and let's pretend we have a short haircut. And in which case, follow the hairline and again, draw the hair as it is growing. Is it sticking up straight? Is it kind of wavy? Is it moving in different directions? Now, here's another mistake people will often make. They'll leave this giant gap between the hair and the ear. Even if your hair is super short, it comes down in front of the ear, I promise. Even if it's very, 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 very close cut. Again, shorter hair, same amount of lines, a lot of tiny, 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 tiny lines going in the direction that you see. Don't just shade it in. Really take a close look in the mirror of how your hair is growing. Okay. Final steps. Now, you want to add any details that are specific to you. Are you wearing earrings? Do you have glasses maybe? Now you can choose to draw or not draw some of these things if it's difficult or you're like, I don't want my hair today. Again, this is just a practice one. For your real one, you can kind of choose what you want to have and what you want to look like. Maybe you have freckles. I don't know. It's up to you. Okay, those are kind of your special details. I'm sorry my drawing is upside down, but I'll flip it for you after. I don't have a document camera in my house. So here we go. Now I'm going to show you a second way. This is using a drawing app. I used Adobe Sketch. So the first thing you're going to do is take a selfie. Then you're going to open up Adobe Sketch and pick Portrait. You can see a sketch layer, but I'm going to add an image layer, and I'm going to choose a photo that's already on the camera roll. So it's a photo that's just here. And I'm going to make it a little big, and then I'm going to click on that layer, and do you see the opacity? I'm going to bring that to the left, and I'm going to lighten that photo. Again, I'm completely cheating. I'm going to draw on top of this photo today. Okay. Now you can pick a pen. There's many, many variations. So when you want to do that, you're going to that left bar, and you can scroll up and down to find something that you like. Here you can change the color. I really don't care what color you use. It doesn't matter. You can make, again, here's an opacity tool if you want to make your mark really dark. So I tried this one out and I didn't like the look of it, so I switched and I went back for a second one. This line, I like the tool. I wanted it to be a little bit darker. So I darken it, and I think I made it a bit bolder. So you can test it out for a few times to see if you like it or how it's going. And once you're ready, just undo, and then go ahead and start. Here, I think I finally decided on the tool. Okay. You can see I skipped the oval part this time. I'm just going with the eyes. I'm starting with the eyes, and I'm drawing the lines that I see. And it's not as easy because your finger is quite thick. So you might have to enlarge to get those details. But again, eyelashes are going toward the right on the right-hand side. You can try and make your pen smaller if it looks too thick. We're not shading. This is just a contour line. Okay. When you're drawing freehand, one of the hardest things I find is getting the two eyes to be the exact same size. Or maybe they're not quite the same size, but it's tricky. So on the left-hand side, your eyelashes are going toward the left, and make sure they're coming from the eyelid and not your eyeball. Okay. After your eyes, you want to do your eyebrows. I was having trouble seeing my lines, so I actually darkened the photo here a little bit so I could see it a little better. You can play around. We'll hide that layer eventually, so go ahead and play with the opacity tool as much as you want. I have a few more lines around my eyes than you might have. After the eyes, the nose. Okay. I did some undoing here. I was coming down the whole way and then back up again, and I just felt like it was too big of a line, so I played around a tiny bit. Even when I'm doing this with pencil, often my preference is to do one side of the nose and just kind of the 3 bumps underneath, but you have to find what works for you, whichever one you think is the best. There's no right or wrong, really, as long as you get the proportion right. Make sure the nose is going down as long as it needs to be. Again, there's about a finger space between the nose and the lip. This photo, I'm actually smiling. I don't think I would ever try and draw a portrait with a smiling face because I find the teeth are really difficult. So most of my portraits look kind of grumpy. And again, there's a few lines, a few laugh lines here. I made a mistake there with my face. And if you look, you can see how the face comes in a bit thinner on the chin. That's what you want to do with your pencil one too. The neck. Now I think I'm going to enlarge, crop out a little bit because I couldn't see the rest of my, oh, no, not yet. Now I'm going to my ears. I have a gazillion earrings, so I have to get all of those in. You might not have any. And your hair might be covering your ears, and that's okay. But those are the fun details that actually make it look like you too. So you don't want to leave those things out. All right, I'm going to come back out. I'm going to add just a few marks for my clothes. That's not really super important in terms of proportion. You can have a lot of fun with that. You can even make it up and change your clothes if you wish. That part is really okay. And then lastly, the hair. And again, my lines are following the way that my hair is falling this particular day. I think I cheated on the top. It was really windy. I'm like, eh. And again, you can take that prerogative when you're an artist. You can undo a few things if you want. No one's going to know. If you have hair in the back, so if you can see, one ponytail is actually behind my shoulder and the other one is in front. So don't cheat and change it. Just like when you're doing observational drawing, draw only what you see. Okay? And again, my lines are hopefully going in the direction of my hair. So the last step is we're going to go back to that photo layer and we're going to click on it. Well, actually, we can just make it completely low, the opacity, or we can hide it altogether. And then you're left with your drawing. So this is a second way you can practice your portraits in the exact proportion. Still going step by step. So now you have 2 ways to try this week. Okay. Here's a time lapse of one without a photo. You can try that too for fun. Crisscross, eyes, eyebrows, nose, mouth, ears, etc. Okay, have fun. I really hope this helps you.